A pleasant day to everyone. I am Nino Jasmar Mecha from Western Philippines University. On behalf of my co-authors, I will be presenting this study entitled Spiny Lobster Puerulus Collection in Palawan, Philippines. Implication for Fisheries Management. Spiny lobster belongs to genus Puerulus, is one of the high-valued crustaceans caught in tropical waters. Its high demand had resulted to overexploitation and unstable supply in 2006. This decline encouraged various countries such as Vietnam to engage in aquaculture in 1970s, utilizing the wild seeds such as the Puerulus and juvenile to supply the growing demand for adult spiny lobster. Wild seeds, particularly the Puerulus, is an ectonic stage that occurs and swim back to shore after 4 to 7 months in open water to settle. During the return, they were caught by fishers using various settlement traps and gears that vary within or among countries. Since then, the collection of spiny lobster became a major industry and an alternative source of income for many fishers in various countries with abundant of natural settlements such as Vietnam, Indonesia, and Australia. However, information of spiny lobster Puerulus collection in the Philippines are still limited. As of this date, only the study of Makosi et al. 2019 is available. In Palawan, this fishery activity is still undocumented, since Puerulus collection using various settlement traps was only started in 2019 in southern localities, which eventually spread northward the following years. Hence, this study documented the fishing practices involved in spiny lobster Puerulus fishery in Palawan. Specifically, this study described the settlement traps and luring shading materials, describe the methods used in traps installation, describe the harvest methods, and identified problems encountered in spiny lobster Puerulus fishery in Palawan. The result of this study could be used as basis in crafting policies towards sustainable Puerulus fishery industry in Palawan. The study was conducted in the entire province of Palawan between June 2020 to September 2021. The province is a major supplier of marine products, including wild-caught spiny lobster. It is known as the last ecological frontiers that harbors a diverse marine resources. Data were gathered using survey form questionnaire that contains 4 major parts. Due to the emerging restriction from COVID-19 during the conduct of the study, the social media platforms such as Facebook and YouTube were initially used to search for information related to spiny lobster Puerulus collection in Palawan and key informants. Using keywords such as baby lobster, paraan ng panguhuli ng baby lobster buying price, paano manghuli ng baby lobster, a total of 10 video posted in YouTube were found and reviewed. Posted inquiries in Facebook were also responded by 15 individuals within Palawan. A total of 68 KIs, including the YouTube content creators and individuals who positively responded via social media to participate in the survey, were identified from various localities in Palawan. These KIs were composed of spiny lobster Puerulus collectors, and at the same time buyers, residents, and employees in either private or government agencies. All KIs were interviewed face-to-face or online about areas in Palawan with Puerulus collection activities. Collection sites mentioned by the KIs were validated through Google Earth Pro by checking the historical event in each coastal area. Out of 68 KIs, only 30 were interviewed with the aid of survey form questionnaire, either face-to-face or online, as they have more knowledge on the Puerulus collection activities. Also, only the 14 collectors and 2 collectors and at the same time buyer responded the third part of the questionnaire, as the other have no ideas on the harvesting methods involved in spiny lobster Puerulus. All data were recorded in MS Excel for analysis. Prior to the interview, a consent approval was first secured from all KIs. Sites with confirmed Puerulus collection were visited to conduct face-to-face interviews and photo documentation. All settlement traps documented were described based on the composition, such as concrete and non-concrete materials, and design or shape. The settlement traps, insulation, and harvesting methods were also described based on actual observation and information provided by the key eyes. Data were analyzed and presented using frequencies and percentages. Photos or sketches were provided to complement the description. As for the results, the collectors used various settlement traps and materials such as concrete and non-concrete type. Concrete type has various shape and dimension such as the cylindrical, disc, rectangular, and square, and half sphere as indicated in this slide. The non-concrete type included the coconut fruit, massive corals with crevices, wooden slabs or lugs, and coconut coir tied in a metal frame or bamboo frame. The settlement traps were also provided with various luring shading materials attached or tied above the settlement traps as additional shadow for the swimming Puerulus to easily see the shelter, such as the coconut coir or leaves, sargassum thalai, and various netting materials. The settlement traps were installed various methods, such as the stake hanging method that is likely to be installed in shallow area with sandy, muddy substrate. The bamboo or wooden posts hold a long horizontal pole at least 1.5 above the substrate. The settlement traps were hung using nylon and twisted monofilament rope 60 meters from horizontal poles and at least 30 centimeters above the ground with 20 centimeters interval. The next method is the floating with two variations such as bamboo raft and banca. Bamboo poles were installed in enclosed deep calm areas within the bay, thus 4 meters wide and 6 to 8 meters length, while the banca is a motorized boat with outrigger formerly used for ecotourism but was idle during COVID-19 pandemic. Settlement traps in these methods were tied and hung just like the stake hanging method. The last method is the fixed bottom with 4 variations. First is the tripod. The upper end of the 3 wooden posts is combined and tied together with a rope while the bottom is spread apart with the aid of horizontal posts for the platform. A large coral skeleton were placed at the platform to securely fix the installation. The tripod platform has 5 to 7 horizontal posts that support 4 to 10 cylindrical shaped concrete traps hung using nylon or twisted monofilament rope at 20 cm intervals and at least 30 cm above the ground. Next is the hanging, which is similar to the tripod, but the posts were tied in pairs with the base being spread to keep the horizontal pole about 1 meter above the ground. Sometimes a single post was used where the construction is like the stake hanging method. The settlement traps were hung similar to the tripod. The popsicle is the third variation. It is made of 1 meter wooden pole with the top end attached to a rectangular concrete settlement, while the other end is staked on a shallow soft bottom area, keeping the settlement trap at least 30 to 50 cm above the ground. And last, the lollipop, which is similar to the popsicle, but the top end of a 1 meter wooden pole is attached with a cylindrical concrete settlement trap. Moving to the harvesting methods. The harvesting starts in February and ends in September, and it only coincides to the phase of the moon. According to the key eyes collector, there are more settlements during dark moon or between new moon to first quarter that lasts for 10 days, thus serving as a natural off-season for Puerulus collection. Meanwhile, collectors visited the settlement traps at early 7 to 10 a.m. They used 2 different ways of collection or checking the settled Puerulus in the settlement traps, such as skin diving or pulling the settlement traps out of the water. For the fisheries management implication, settlement traps made from wooden slabs, coconut fruit materials could be a cheaper and eco-friendly than concrete and old nets. Biodegradable materials may not have a long-term environmental hazard compared to the concrete and old nets when properly disposed at the end of harvest season. Unremoved settlement traps can bring hazard to the habitats and navigators, especially at night. The harvesting is dependent on the phase of the moon and only during the months of February to September, thus serving a natural close season for the spiny lobster virus. The absence of local legislation in most municipalities or a weak implementation of existing laws is expected to worsen the currently observed problems. This study concluded that the design of settlement traps and installation methods are similar to those in Vietnam with some modifications. However, some settlement traps are a new innovation by local fishers. Harvesting methods are dependent on the phase of the moon and during the month of February until September. The settled Puerulus are collected by either skin diving or pulling the traps out of the water. Problems Problems encountered, such as unstable buying price and unclear sorting system of Puerulus, are mostly due to lack of management body that can impose the existing provincial ordinance and regulates the collection and buying activities. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening.